Hey, this is your market analysis for August 18th, 2011. Let's take a look at the market here on the S&P 500. What a brutal day, another big down day, over 4% today. And it pretty much, confirmed what we were expecting or anticipating for quite some time, or at least the last several days, where the market looks ready to just roll over, especially when it's stalled and had a hard time getting above this 1200 level. You can see that it made 3 attempts and it kept failing to break above that level. So that told you that there's a pretty strong resistance area right around the 1200. And as it was doing so, as this market rallied back up, the market isn't oversold anymore. Okay, it's not as stretched out anymore. So it's ready to basically start moving again to the downside. Now today we had a pretty big day, and if you look back at the trend that we've been seeing, that every time we had a big day, it was followed by either a small candle or a recovery candle. So that tells us there's a good chance we might get some kind of a recovery, some kind of a consolidation or bounce tomorrow. Especially if you go into switch to an hourly view, the hourly or short-term stochastic is oversold, and you can start seeing there's quite a few hammers, a couple of hammers that's forming right around this support area. So that means that people are starting to pick up or trying to bottom feed around this level here. So we might get some kind of a bounce tomorrow. Okay, if not a bounce, then maybe just a small sideways consolidation day. So that's something that I'll be expecting for tomorrow, at least to just kind of work out this short-term oversold for a little bit, and then once it's out of oversold, then it can continue rolling down again. And if I take it one step further and go to a smaller time frame, you can see this better with the SPY. You can see that we had some pretty decent buyings last half hour into this market, last few minutes. And even the last decline, the last push, it looked like it was kind of wedging a little bit. And usually wedging means that the market is getting down towards its last leg. And that's the type of movement that you want to pay attention to. You see how even though it's moving lower, there's quite a bit of overlapping waves, right? Whereas a strong push, there's usually no overlaps. Okay, strong push, no overlaps. But as it's getting towards the last leg, that's when you start to see the overlappings of highs and lows. And that kind of tells you the momentum, the strong push downward, isn't as strong anymore. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to as you switch between different time frames. And we kind of got above this 50 moving average right there. So it could be a sign that buyers were stepping in the last half hour of the day. But I would like to see some confirmation tomorrow. Especially getting above this hourly hammer right there, basically back above 115, then maybe we can come back towards the 116 area. So just pay attention to that. Okay, jumping into the VIX, no surprise there, we see a jump in the VIX, so that usually means the option premium has increased as well. Now one thing you can do is, if you were to look at the 110 strike, assuming you want to play this bounce, or heck, assuming there is a bounce tomorrow, you can sell maybe some bull puts for tomorrow that expires tomorrow underneath 112, right? And just basically hold it until the end of tomorrow, assuming that prices are going to more or less hover above today's low. So that's something you can take advantage of, this high premium situation that's going on right now. Now let me kind of look at some different stocks, and besides looking at the market, another way to gauge price action, another way to gauge sentiment is look at the bigger stocks. Look at the big names, the popular stocks, the big guys like Apple. And you have to look at, okay, what's going on with these guys. And you can see Apple broke down from this little head and shoulders, and it came back and rallied right back towards the neckline. So that's a stronger confirmation, another form of confirmation that the market was bumping its head into its resistance. All right, and something we mentioned before, like Netflix, came back to this 250 resistance. CMG, same thing, little head and shoulder here, comes back right into this neckline, right around there. So a lot of these stocks, a lot of these popular ones, they've been rallying back to resistance. And again, right, another strong sign that the market was just about ready to roll over, because these bigger stocks have pulled back already, right? So some of these other names, including IT back to resistance, RAX back to this previous resistance here, also back to the moving average. Okay, so this is why I always like to look at not only just the market but also individual stocks to give me a better picture, to give me an idea of what the bigger names are doing, because these are stocks that big fund managers like to buy. Okay, so that's also a clue into knowing what's going on out there. Now let's take a look at a few stocks, assuming that we assume that there's might be some kind of a bounce tomorrow. I think BVN is a really nice play right here. This was mentioned by one of our members in the forum, and it's also in a volatility squeeze right there. So it's right in the squeeze, it's right on the top of the Bollinger Bands, and if we were to go into an hourly view, okay, it's forming a small flag, and it managed to stay green relatively flat today, which is a strong sign. I mean, this stock didn't really sell off compared to the others out there. So that's one possibility to play if we assume that we might get some kind of small bounce tomorrow. The other thing is you can look for stocks that are really oversold, something like Ulta. That's back to support area right there, and going into short term you can see the hourly stochastic is really oversold. So maybe just a quick bounce, and again, these are nothing more than just a quick bounce. I definitely don't recommend it that you hold it through the weekend, especially being tomorrow's Friday. Another one is Lulu, right? Another stock that's been beaten up pretty badly, but it's also fallen back to support, and you can see stochastic is really oversold. So again, these stocks that are really oversold, we might get that snapback, just back to resistance or something for here 50. So these are a couple of suggestions for you guys. Either stick to the strong stocks that held up well today and that has a setup like BVN, or you can play the oversold bounce, or you can sell option premium, given that VIX is once again high in that high level, and then you can sell some option premium here on SPY or whatever stock is out there. But once the bounce is over, I'm still going to go with the idea that we're going to either retest the lows or break the lows, because right now the trend is lower. Now we have lower lows, lower high, and once it's back outside of this oversold, once it's back up into some kind of resistance, then I would start to look for some kind of either bearish setup, either selling bear call spreads on SPY, puts on SPY, or shorting individual stocks. And the stocks that I mentioned actually make for great setups, because, well, these guys are at support, and you know what, let's say tomorrow we do get some kind of a small rebound, and then short term it's not so oversold anymore, and then once it breaks, this is a clean break of support right here at 50. Same with Lulu, clean break of support. And then another one is Herbalife, where you can see it's a nice support area right there. So if we can get, ideally, if we can get at least a day's worth of rest or two, it builds a very small base, and then once it breaks, that would be a really ideal entry into shorts for something like this. So the stocks that I mentioned that you can possibly play for a short-term rebound also makes for a good shorting opportunity once it breaks that support level right there. Okay, so keep an eye on these few stocks. There's tomorrow's Friday, like I said, and since it's option expiration, maybe most of the movement has already been done today. And tomorrow, usually on option expiration day, it's relatively quiet, but this is a different trading environment, so who knows? It could be another wild day tomorrow.